Okay, let us go on ahead and finish this book. I don't have a lot left for it. You've got a special ability too. It's morning, time for breakfast. I was wiped out last night, so I slept like a log. Of course, using Papa as a mattress. Sorry, Papa! When we left the alcove, the goblins were awake and at work. Some were off hunting, others had gone to fetch us water, and another group was butchering the frostbiter. I'm glad to know her death won't be in vain, but I'm not eating her! I won't eat a single bite of that meat, so please keep it all for yourselves. And so the interior of the cave buzzed with activity. I washed my face with refreshingly cold water and straightened my clothing as best I could. Afterward, we ate a simple breakfast consisting of fruit the goblins had picked for us and rations my father and his men had brought. Now it was time to negotiate with the former hobgoblin, now Oni. We still needed to get him to agree to release the adults who were being held captive. Will you please release the adult humans who are here too? Sure, but that was too easy. Really? If your plan goes ahead, it will solve all our problems. He doesn't waste time playing hard to get, does he? And so, the adults were released without a fight. There were 5 captives. One was a man, and the others were women. I had been worried the women might have been mistreated. Yeah, that's what I was worried about too. But they seemed unharmed. When I asked why, he answered that taking care of the aftermath would have been too troublesome. I wasn't quite sure what he meant. I'm assuming killing them? But decided not to ask for the sake of my virgin ears. I really hope that that's not what they meant. Between Papa and his men, as well as the freed captives, we made a sizable group when we set off to return to the village. Of course, the former hobgoblin accompanied us. He looked even more like an exhibitionist pervert in the light of day. It was all I could do to keep from laughing every time I looked at him. Since the goblin's boss would be absent for a while, I got Papa and his men to cast a wide-range protective spell around the cave. I asked if it was a barrier, but was informed that barriers were a different type of magic. They had more to say, but I got the feeling the explanation would go right over my head, so I quickly ended the conversation. We instructed the goblins who would stay behind not to venture far from the cave. If something happened, no one would be able to rescue them. When I saw Pino and Nino for the first time in the light of day, they looked like angels. Pino had cheerful yellow hair and dark green eyes that shimmered like gems. His hair was voluminous and curly, giving him the overall appearance of a sunflower. Nina was her brother's opposite, with dark green hair and bright topaz-colored eyes. Her hair was long, so gravity naturally stretched the curls into gentle waves. Their personalities were very different, too. Pino was nonchalant and moved at his own pace, as if time flowed differently in his orbit. Nina was a tsundere. There was no other word to describe her. And as it turned out, they were twins. Fraternal twins, obviously. The coloring and personalities were polar opposites, but they were each captivating. Oh, and the rabbit's injury healed completely. One of the knights accompanying my father possessed the ability to use healing magic, so I asked him to heal the rabbit, and he agreed. While I was at it, I asked Papa if I could keep the rabbit as a pet. Nima, since you're a smart little girl, you understand the responsibility involved with keeping a pet, right? I mean, I assume she cares for the dog a bunch. Of course. I would care for Dee and Nox diligently until death do us part. Sadly, I knew that I would most likely outlive them both. Oh, yeah. Dee was a member of the family and we all took care of her, but I took care of Nox all by myself. Even if she got sick or one day got so old she couldn't move anymore, that wouldn't change. It was my duty to her as her owner. Personally, I think it's in her best interest to live as nature intended in her natural environment, Papa said. That's an incredibly indirect answer, but I think he's saying I can't keep her as a pet. Why? When humans take wild animals as pets, the animal's instincts become distorted. They lose the ability to feed themselves and their natural protective instincts. Oh, so that's what he means. Even if you give food to a stray cat, they won't let you get too close. But a house cat will let strangers pet it. That's what he's referring to, right? Unlike domesticated cats, wild animals need to maintain that wariness of danger to survive. But if I care for her for the rest of her life, does it matter if she loses her survival instinct? I understand what Papa's saying, but it doesn't explain why I can't keep her as a pet. That which has become distorted cannot return to the way it was and will only lead to further distortion. Let me put it like this. Think of the distortion as ripples. If you bring the rabbit home, it will set up a tiny ripple in the world. That ripple will travel across the world, bumping into other ripples, destroying them or being consumed by them. Those are the inner workings of the world. Every day, countless ripples, large and small, appear, creating the events which determine the fate of the world. Whoa, hold on there a moment. This has suddenly turned into an abstract philosophical discussion that's hard to follow. So in summary, if you attempt to go against the laws of nature and the rules set forth by God, regardless of the magnitude of the act, it will affect the world? I don't think her keeping a rabbit as a pet is going to affect anything. Now, if she was trying to take a magical creature as a pet, then I could kind of understand that might have possible implications in the future. But it seems like it's just a wild rabbit. Right? Furthermore, sooner or later, the consequences of your actions will always come back to you. Is this what they mean by those old adages? He who seeks to do ill upon others should first dig 2 graves, and reaping what you sow? How did we get onto such an esoteric topic? It's best for the world to have as few ripples as possible. Having no ripples means the world is peaceful and calm. He's referring to the cosmic balance of nature. All events are connected, and interfering in any way throws off the natural balance. Well, I mean, you kind of already did that when you connected with Soul, so I think you might be okay. The universe reacts to correct the unbalance, and that reaction returns to where the unbalance originated. Huh? Then why is it okay for me to keep Nox as a pet? The animals born at the beast stables are distorted simply by being born outside their natural environment, and Nox has magnified that distortion for your sake, Nima. Oh, that's right. I've known for a while now that Nox's abilities exceed those of the other birds of the beast stables. Have I been asking too much of her? You will one day find yourself in the path of the reverberation of the ripples you created. So don't you agree that it's best that the ripples are as small as possible? Wait just a minute. Don't compare a person to a giant rock protruding from the sea. A somber air has just blown in. In the first place, all I wanted to do was cuddle and pet cute animals. I have no desire to get involved with such weighty matters as world peace. Well, if someone tries to get in the way, I'll use Papa's authority and Soul's magic to drive them away, but that's most not unreasonable, is it? Ah! Is that what he's trying to say? He's warning me that this twisted personality of mine is going to send out ripples all across the world? No. Everything's going to be okay. I still have time to fix this. Probably. In any case, I gave up on keeping the rabbit as a pet. Once the topic reached a global level, it seemed that the only possible course of action was to return it to the wild. I mean, I would do that, to be completely honest with you, and then if it follows you home, then what are you going to do? At that point. Papa certainly has a way with words, befitting his role as Prime Minister of the entire country. I agree that it's best to return her to the forest. I'll be sad to see her go, though, Pino said, driving the final nail into my coffin. His sad smile would perfectly fit the face of an angel. I wanted nothing more than to comfort him with a big hug. Unfortunately, I was too short to reach. If you want to keep her, you should. Who cares about some weird distortion anyway? If that's what you want, go for it. And besides, I bet you of all people can avoid any so-called repercussions, Nima. As expected from a prideful tsundere young miss, she has the opposite opinion. I appreciate the support, but you're not helping when I just decided to do the right thing. Nino's words caused me to waver, but in the end I got a hold of myself and bid farewell to the rabbit. Like I said, if it follows you home, what are you going to do? One last time, I allowed myself to cuddle the soft and fluffy rabbit, admiring its sweet little twitching nose. I'm sorry you got hurt because of me. Let's play together again someday. I placed the rabbit on the ground, and after a long moment of staring at me with its ears standing straight up, it turned and ran off into the forest. I'm so sorry. Or I'm so sad. Nox rubbed against my cheek as if trying to cheer me up. That's right, I have Nox here with me, and Dee's waiting for me back at home, and I can even see Soul today. Yeah, definitely. Oh, Father! I pulled out the creature I'd been concealing and held her in front of Papa. Yeah, I'm sorry. Really, really sorry. So please don't be angry. The spider is a monster. You do realize that, right? He asked, one eyebrow raised. It's the frost spider's offspring, so yeah, that would make it a monster. Furthermore, the fact that it's entirely black means it's a one-of-a-kind. Really? Huh. Now that you mention it, black is supposed to be a bad color in this world, isn't it? I have to admit, I haven't met any other entirely black creatures. Do you understand the difference between animals and monsters? The former hobgoblin asked, butting into the conversation. One possesses the power of sentient thought, and the other doesn't, right? I answered. I learned this from Dan. In this world, there were 4 humanoid species. Humans, beast people, elves, and demons. Dragons and elemental spirits were revered as beings surpassing all of the above. Animals and monsters were generally distinguished by their capability, or lack thereof, for sentient thought, but there wasn't always a clear distinction. For example, in some regions, pests and animals that preyed on livestock were also lumped in with monsters. When I protested this was ridiculous, Dan explained that the Church of Divine Creation defined monsters as any creature harmful to humans. That could include pests and predatory animals. That's kind of just a general assumption. You can't really lump in, like, a lion with a frost spider, you know? So that's what humans think. Put simply, monsters are defects. We're all defective versions of something else. Defective versions of something else? That's right, us goblins are defective versions of humans. Frost spiders are defective versions of spiders. For this reason, all monsters are weak. Goblins born to a human mother may be a little stronger. Yeah, this was what I was worried about. Okay. But in the end, no matter how much human blood you add, goblins will always be goblins. I'm not sure if we're lacking something crucial to being human, or if there's something we've got too much of. Monsters were defective versions of other creatures. This unexpected revelation shocked me. This seemed to be news to Papa too, because he listened with concentrated interest. Young goblins are sometimes killed by kiwis. Until frost spiders grow to a certain size, everything that moves in the forest is their natural predator. It's rare for one to get as big as the one we'd encountered yesterday. My goodness, I didn't realize how brutal the struggle to survive is for them. Well, I guess that's probably why monsters have such an outstanding reproductive rate. For a monster to become stronger, they need to receive a name. Oh, so we're going to get a page from that time I got reincarnated as a slime, eh? I suspect that Frost Spider must have had a name as well. A name? If we're given a name by a strong person, the world recognizes us as an individual. Once that happens, we can use magic and receive the divine protection of the elemental spirits. Interesting. I suppose names are important in this world. Having a name could be restrictive in many ways, but it also came with many blessings. What's your name, I asked. I bet it's super manly and badass name. Yeah, I'm assuming he's got a name, considering he evolved into an Oni when he shouldn't have evolved again at all. And besides, it's gotten pretty tedious referring to him as the former hobgoblin, so I'd like to know his name. I'm guessing he doesn't have one. Okay, I don't have a name, he said. I didn't get along well with the previous boss, and he was killed shortly after I took over. A nameless warrior, huh? But he was able to evolve even without possessing a name. He must be incredibly skilled. The whole situation is bizarre. God. To be honest, I'm jealous of that little spider, he said. That symbol on her forehead means she has a name, right? Oh, yeah! She named it! Yeah, her name is Gracia. Gracia clicked her fangs together. I think she's probably trying to brag. It's a pretty good name, too, right? At some point, our conversation had turned into a lesson, and before I knew it, we were already arriving at the village. Apparently, the captured man was from this village because the villagers seemed shocked to see him, shouting and then crying. A woman who I could only assume was his wife ran over and threw herself into the man's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. My goodness. Another contingent of knights would escort the women to their respective villages the following day. More importantly, what about their mental health? They must be incredibly traumatized. Father, please have a doctor examine the former captives, preferably someone who specializes in mental health. Do psychologists even exist in this world? Even if they don't, an examination by a doctor might help to ease their psychological burden even a little. Good idea. I will dispatch the territory's order of healers. Come to think of it, the twin angels are probably from around here too, huh? When I asked, I was informed they were the children of the Proxy Lord who ruled Iriga Proxy, which neighbored Gilva Proxy where we currently were. Hold on, no wonder they're so freaking amazing. They're children of they're the genuine article, children of the aristocracy. I see, Earl Iriga's children. In that case, we must hurry to inform him of their safety. At Papa's order, a messenger hawk was dispatched to Earl Iriga's estate. According to Papa, Earl Iriga was an excellent proxy lord. In that case, he'd be perfect to dig and drag into my plan. His assistance would be beneficial, should he choose to give it. He does owe us for saving his kids, after all. Well, I'll discuss this topic at length with Papa later. For now, I'm starving. Somebody get me something to eat. We were once again imposing on the hospitality of the village chief and his wife. The village chief's wife was overjoyed to see me safe and sound, and immediately sat me down in front of a bowl of piping hot stew. Oh, the simple pleasures of a hot meal. I'm in heaven. It was the twins' first hot meal in quite some time, and they dug in ravenously, shoveling the stew into their mouths. They subsisted almost entirely on fruit during their time in the cave. I asked the village chief's wife for some raw meat for Nox and Gracia, which she kindly provided. Nox pinned her chunk of meat down with one of her legs and tore into it enthusiastically. Gracia wrapped her legs around the small chunk and deftly spun it as she ate. I felt like the nom nom sound effect is especially appropriate here. Nom 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 nom. She's eating through that meat like a hungry caterpillar devouring a cabbage leaf. When she finished the chunk of meat, Gracia clicked her fangs together as if begging for more, so I gave her a bean for my stew. Just like with the meat, she spun the bean around while happily devouring it. I could get addicted to watching her nom-nomming. That's funny. It's a funny word. Or it's a funny effect, I should say. Once we finished our meal, it was finally time. My long-awaited chance to pet Soul had come at last. But first, I need to ask the village chief to get me some clothes. I have to do something about that former goblin. He can't meet Soul looking like a perverted flasher. Soul landed in an open area that served as the village center. The former hobgoblin, the twins, and the villagers were so dumbfounded and awed that all they could do was stare. I, on the other hand, ran up to Soul without batting an eye and lashed onto his face in a giant bear hug. I can't get enough of the smooth texture. Soul's scales are the best. With me still clinging to him, Soul examined the former hobgoblin. His characteristics differ from those of the demons I've heard of. Furthermore, I sensed the presence of elemental power emanating from him. I wonder if I'd finally be able to sleep curled up against Soul tonight. Should I stay traditional and use his stomach as a pillow? Or should I go off script and use his wing membranes as a blanket? Oh wait, leaning up against Soul's cheek while he's lying down is a quintessential fantasy image. I don't think she's listening yet. Are you listening? But I want to try the wing membrane blanket too. What should I do? Nima, you're not listening to a thing I'm saying, are you? Oh, so call me by name. This is surprising. This creature is not an Oni. Oni cannot use elemental power. I have no knowledge of any monster that possesses these characteristics. So, did you accidentally name him or something? When you were, when you talked to him before? Did you accidentally name him? Because that's the only thing I can think of. In conclusion, Soul doesn't know what he is either, huh? Isn't Soul supposed to be a living dictionary? But wait a minute. Was this about elemental power? You could see elemental power. I almost bowled the former hobgoblin over with the force of this question. If elemental power looks like half-transparent bugs flying around all over the place, then yeah, I can see it. Bugs? Don't shatter my dream like that. Say they're like fairies, not bugs. Oh wait, I don't think fairies exist in this world. And dwarves are as big as human children. What do you call Thumbelina's species then? I give up. I guess there's nothing better to compare it to than bugs. Let's postpone this issue for the time being. Good idea. Can you use elemental power? The former hobgoblin readily agreed to indulge my curiosity. With Soul's guidance, he attempted to use elemental power. I searched the area for something we could use as a target, but came up empty-handed. Thankfully, one of the knights who accompanied my father picked up on what I was doing and used magic to create a golem. Magic is incredible, too! But I'm looking forward to using elemental power and seeing elemental power in action. Without warning, the former hobgoblin spoke and a sound of debris scattering filled the village center. It exploded! Elemental power can be invoked even from a distance? Right, as Papa had said, magic was cast outward by a magic user originating from their body, so it couldn't be invoked at an origin point a distance away from the caster. When humans wanted to do this, we had to use magical items. He simply asked the elemental power to destroy the goblin. Or golem, that's all. Soul seemed highly amused by the human's surprise reaction. A knight obligingly created another golem, and it was reduced to fine rubble. The former hobgoblin used the wind element to create a razor-sharp whirlwind that cut the goblin to pieces, after which the pieces were dried out and reduced to sand. The element of water turned the goblin into mud, then just as quickly reversed directions and stole all the water out of it. The golem slammed into pieces that couldn't be put back together again. How did the element of earth, the same material the golem was made of, fare, you ask? The golem became more glossy. Apparently, elemental power wasn't effective against the same element. However, the element of earth was able to change the properties of things and make plants grow faster, so it was perfect for agricultural applications. It's nearly unheard of to be able to control all four elements, Soul remarked. Now that you mention it, even Soul can only control fire and wind. Humans can manipulate all four elements using magic, though. It would appear that this former hobgoblin was also the lucky recipient of a special ability. I think it's safe to say he's a new species. The fact that he can use elemental power, even though he's not a holy beast, is ultra rare, isn't it? So it looks like he's a new species, right? How about the name Shinky, I suggested. Shinky? What a strange sounding word. Yeah, it's Japanese. Using the characters for forest and demon, it suits him perfectly. I was patting myself on the back for my stellar naming sense when something unusual happened. A white symbol appeared on the former hobgoblin's head. Huh? Is he now a holy beast or something? Hold on, it's not a name. The name of the species is Shinki. It's not a given name. Oh god, come down here right now. I know you're messing with me here. I stomped my foot in frustration since there was no one I could take it out on. Nima, Papa Alva moaned. It's not my fault. It's the name of a species. I tried in vain to insist, but it was too late. I couldn't take it back now. Fine, whatever. The former hobgoblin's name is Shinki. And so the ranks of those that serve you continue to swell, Soul noted. Those that serve me? Knock that off right the heck now, please. Soul was the only person I chose of my own volition. All the others either happened by accident or because God meddled in things. Yeah, it's not my fault. I'm sorry for giving you a name without asking permission, I told Shinki. Don't worry about it. I was planning to ask you to give me a name anyway. You are the one who gave us a path to walk when we were out of options. But wait, who's going to be in charge of the goblins then? Are you going to stay? Well, I'm not sure how it will turn out, but if that plan falls through, there must be another way. I, Shinki, and all of the goblins who follow me hereby swear our allegiance to Nefertima, Shinki proclaimed, bowing and said, Whoa, it's like a knight taking a vow of loyalty or something. To me? Are you sure? You are the one who gave me a name. That makes you my master from now on. Woohoo! I became the goblin's boss. Something tells me I'm dreadfully mistaken. Here we go. Side stories. Side story, Safari Park. One more time! Today I came to the Royal Palace by myself. Well, I rode in my family's carriage, so I suppose I couldn't claim to be completely alone. Today's objective was to take another stab at touring the beef stables. Last time I'd been forced to leave early, but today I was determined to meet with the large felines. Ooh, I want to see this. And so I headed toward the beef stables. I knocked with all my might on the gate located along a long, long fence. The sound it made was more of a tap than a knock, probably because of the feeble strength of my small arms. Excuse me! I was rearing for a fight. With a heavy-sounding rumble, the gate opened. Why did it sound so heavy, even though it was a sliding door? I suspect it must be to prevent animals from escaping, but is a sliding door really necessary? Is Commander Leston here, I asked. A knight who peeked out of the gate made a surprised face. Lady Nefertima? It looks like he knows who I am. I will summon the commander right away. Please come in. Huh? Is it okay to let me in so easily? I suppose I do have free pass to go wherever I want in the Royal Palace, but still. The knight quickly closed the gate, then began preparing something. I watched closely and determined he was putting something inside a small, thin tube. Lottie. A bird flew toward us, responding to the knight's call. It was a particularly eye-catching bird with green and yellow feathers. After looking closely, I recognized it as one of the birds of prey I was so interested in. The way it glided through the sky was so cool. Its widespread tertiary feathers, the fact that it didn't make a sound as it extended its legs in preparation for landing, and the way it tilted its head while resting on its perch were all food for my ravenous appetite for observing birds of prey. Oblivious to my intense excitement, the knight fastened the tube from earlier to the length of the leg of the bird he called Lottie. Deliver this to Commander Les right away, okay? The knight spoke seriously to the bird, but the bird replied with a flippant, playful squawk before flying off. Commander Les will be here momentarily. Until then, you can wait for him in his office, right this way. Oh, I see. He's using that bird to contact Leston. It didn't occur to me that they'd use messenger birds within the confines of the beast stables, but I suppose it makes sense considering how big this place is. Last time I was here, a messenger hawk delivered a letter to Leston after all. Are you sure it's okay to leave your post to accompany me, I asked. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be guarding the gate right now. I don't want to keep him from doing his job. It's fine. When they see Lottie flying, the men know it means a guest has arrived and my replacement will come to watch the gate. I see. So that's why they use such a brightly colored bird. No one could fail to notice her. I followed after the knight as he led the way to Leston's office. The building where Leston's office was located was the knight's guard room. Waiting room? No, it was more like an office of a zoo. There were knights wearing work coveralls, carrying cleaning tools, food for the animals, etc. When you entered the building, to the left on the first floor was a room that appeared to function as a break room or cafeteria for the knights. To the right was a wide open space containing stone tables and what appeared to be sinks. At the far end of this room was a large door. This is where we prepare rations for the animals, the knight guiding me explained. As if a little kid would understand what prepare rations means. I mean, I understand it, but still. Prepare rations? Sorry, what I mean is we make the animals their food in this room. There you go. Simple and easy to understand. Very nice. We climbed the long staircase between the cafeteria and the feed room, and the knight led me to a room at the back of the building. It was Leston's office. I sat on the sofa and looked around the room. Books about animals filled the bookshelves that took up one entire wall. Ooh, let me see. Encyclopedia of rare animals around the world, all about war horses, the evolution of flare hogs, the hound dog almanac, when your precious family member gets sick, 100 things that every pet owner should be aware of. There's everything from reference books to self-help books, all battling for my attention. It would appear that Leston was quite the academic, although it could be just that he had to study a lot for his job as a Legion commander. The knight served me tea, which I gratefully accepted. This tea is delicious. I recognize that sound anywhere. I turned to look in the direction where the cry had come from and spotted a cat outside the window. It wasn't technically a cat, it was an animal called a rhea, the closest thing to a cat in this world. The rhea had warm brown fur and scratched at the window as if asking us to open it. Sunali, Commander Les isn't here right now. The knight opened the window and the rhea entered the room. From the name Sunali, I can tell he's a boy. Sunali was the name of the hero from a well-known children's story. It seemed that all boys went through a phase where they admired and wanted to be Sunali. My brother had read the story to me. Sunali headed straight to me and curled up on my lap. This was without a doubt his sleeping pose. Do you want to take a nap? I asked. He looked just like a cat, curled up and sleeping. Sunali was brown, but had vertical stripes of white. He had round ears and a thick tail. Something about him called to mind the image of a Paulus cat, except he wasn't quite the ferocious or playful. The way his ears twitched unconsciously or occasionally was so adorable that I couldn't resist the impulse to touch him playfully. Sunali released an aggravated meow and smacked my arm with his tail. Sorry, I'll let you sleep. Good night. I slowly stroked Sunali's back until he fell asleep for real. It felt as if his weight on my lap had increased. I'm so sorry, Lady Nefertima. He's never been affectionate with anyone other than Commander Les before, so I didn't think Sunali would do something like this. The knight apologized, but he didn't need to feel guilty. Fur babies exist to be loved on after all. It's okay, he's adorable. I can't get enough of this fluffiness. My hand won't stop. I want to keep petting him forever. I was enjoying the luxurious texture of Sunali's fur to my heart's content when there was a knock on the door. Without a word to me, the knight opened the door. My apologies for keeping you waiting, Lady Nefertima. Leston had come right away, just as the knight had promised. Mr. Les, let's play. It's not me you want to play with, but the animals, right? Yep. I see you've already conquered Sunali. Leston seemed grumpy about it, but I was confused. I hadn't done anything mean to Sunali to conquer him. He jumped up on my lap of his own accord and fell asleep. I think he's upset that he took to you so easily when it probably took him a while to get Sunali to like him. You know, it's because he had to work for it, but you did not. Benin, please give Sunali a treat. Okay, Lady Nefertima, let's go, shall we? Sunali reacted instantly to the word treat. Weren't you supposed to be asleep? He meowed as if demanding, hurry up and give it to me already. Sunali was focused on his treat, so I left him in the knight's care. See you later, Sunali. I gave him one last scratch under his chin and rewarded me with a... Oh man, I really want to bring him home with me. No, you cannot bring him home with you. Leston wasted no time leading me to an area like the savannah. Many animals roaming here are predators, so please be careful. Yes, sir, Commander. My time has finally come to meet predators. I can't wait. Go wait. Can I not record in peace? The first target we spotted was a group of rye panthers. They were larger than I'd imagined and somehow looked a bit like Lars. Maybe it was their facial features. The area from the top of their heads to their foreheads was not very pronounced, plus the lines on their cheek muscles resembled him. Oh, but the fluffiness started under their chins and extending around their necks was different. Leston put his finger into his mouth and whistled loudly, and the pack of rye panthers slowly approached. That's right, they were a pack. When it came to felines on Earth, lions were the only species that formed packs, but the rye panthers here formed packs of their blood relatives. One of the rye panthers approached Leston to ask what he wanted. This is the pack's leader, Leaf. By the way, rye panthers lived in family groups with the mother at the center, meaning Leaf is everyone's mother. In that case, their organization is closer to that of a group of orcas than lions. Leaf, can I pet you? Rawr. Since she'd readily agreed, I wasted no time. She had round ears and stocky front legs. From her stomach back, her body was slender and streamlined. Her fur was a shade of gray, so light it was almost white, with lighter colored spots. She looked like a bit like a snow leopard, and her fur felt incredible. Her body was short-haired except for the area around the back of her neck, which was fairly long. The fur was dense and smooth but also plush. The hair on the back of her neck around her throat and on her stomach was soft and long enough that my hands disappeared into it. If Lars's fur was like whipped cream, then Rye Panther's fur was like a marshmallow. When I scratched her throat, Leif let out a satisfied purr. Yep, this reaction was 100% feline. I could hug her while standing flat-foot, so she must have been a bit over 2 foot tall. She licked my cheek affectionately, but it hurt. Her tongue was like sandpaper. Now I understand how careful Lars always is when he licks me. Thanks, Lars. Seeing their pack leader wasn't wary of us, the other Rye Panthers approached. Some of them were smaller than the others, which led me to guess they might be children. The smaller Panthers batted at Leif's tail with their paws. Oh my goodness, they're so cute! As I pet the other Rye Panthers, they happily purred and rubbed against me. I want to come live here! Lesson told me it was time to see the next animal, so I sadly bid farewell to Leif and her family. Before I left, Leif rubbed against me, especially forcefully, which I figured meant we'd become friends at least. Unfortunately, I was pretty sure her scent would fade all too soon, especially with all the animals around you. There's a Yargo in that tree over there. I looked toward the area Leston had pointed out, but couldn't see anything. Huh? Before we get any closer, I'll get rid of Leif's scent. I thought so. Many animals had sensitive noses and would be on their guard if they smelled the scent of other animals. Leston cast a spell that even removed the dirt and stains I'd gotten on me while playing with the Rye Panthers. I'll just get dirty again, but I appreciate the gesture. Thanks. I went to the tree Leston had pointed out earlier and found a large cat perched high up in its branches. The species is called a Yargle. They're related to Rye Panthers. As you can see, they're good at climbing trees, but they're also very fast. The Yargle gracefully leaped from its perch and landed safely on the ground with one impressive bound. As it landed on the ground, the Yargle's body bent to absorb the impact. This movement was not undeniably feline. The species isn't suited for being a beast mount, but we use them for stealth operations, providing a distraction, etc. The Yargles were large, but smaller than a human. There was no way they could carry a knight on their back. Furthermore, the spines of such flexible animals curved as they ran, making them difficult to ride. What do you use Leif and her family for, I asked. Rye Panthers move as a group, so we use them to hunt enemies. Hunt? Well, this is a legion of knights after all. I suppose that's the kind of work they do. I bet the agility of large felines is handy for rounding up scattered enemies. The Rye Panthers each have their own role in the hunting team. One ambushes the enemy, another chases the enemy, and another takes the enemy down. This makes them suited for hunting down groups of enemies. Yargles and Toetails, on the other hand, are solitary hunters, so we have them pursue individual targets. Interesting. Even though they're all large felines, there are significant differences in the way they hunt. Baser, come here. The Yargle Leston called Baser leaped for something the man was holding in his hand. In the space of a second, Leston dodged, and Baser ended up with something in his mouth. They moved so quickly that I wasn't entirely sure what happened. It's a piece of dried meat. We give them to the animals sometimes as treats. When did you pull that out? I didn't notice anything. Baser was chewing on the dried meat for dear life. He held it with his front legs and gnawed it with his molars. Excuse me, Mr. Baser, you're drooling like crazy. The dried meat was gone before I knew it. Then Baser turned his attention to cleaning up after his snack. He licked his drool-soaked front legs clean. Once he'd cleaned up, the Yargle came up to me and licked my face. I get the feeling he was inviting me to play. Very well, if you insist, I've got a secret weapon that I got my sister to make me, especially for today. It's called a cat toy. No cat in the world doesn't want to play with one of these. We'll see. Baser's eyes lit up when I took the cat toy out of my bunny backpack. The cat toy was made with feathers shed by the birds living in our garden. My sister cast a reinforcement spell on the feathers to strengthen them. It should be able to stand up to being played with by a large feline for a while. I dangled the toy teasingly in front of Baser. His head moved back and forth in time with the toy. The way he crouched down and followed the toy with his eyes was adorable. I dropped the feathered piece to the ground and deftly moved it. At this, Baser raised his bottom as if preparing to leap. I abruptly stopped moving the toy, then slid it slowly toward Baser, moving so fast that I could have sworn I heard him slicing through the air. Baser grabbed the feathered piece with his front legs. He peered apprehensively at the prey he'd captured and sniffed its scent. The instant I flicked the toy, startling Baser so much that he instinctively leaped into the air. Oh man, he's just so stinking cute. Whoever heard of a large feline falling for the allure of a common cat toy? Can I take him home with me? Pretty please? Probably not a good idea. Lady Nefertima, please be careful, Leston warned, but I was focused on Baser. I jerked the toy up as high as I could, and Baser jumped. With a single graceful leap, he reached a height well above my head. Once he caught the feathered piece, he twisted in midair and landed on the ground. Then he yanked, shaking his head back and forth. Whoa! The stick end of the toy I'd been holding was ripped from my hand and flew back and forth as Baser shook the toy. I pitched forward and was about to fall when Leston grabbed me and helped me regain my balance. This is your fault for not listening when people try to warn you, you know. I'm sorry. I almost face planted in the dirt. Phew, that was a close call. As for Baser, once he realized the cat toy was no longer moving, he brought it over to me. Are you asking to play some more? Just what I was hoping for. However, after 30 minutes, Baser lost interest. He marked me with his scent, then climbed back into the tree where we first spotted him. His fickleness, too, was perfectly reminiscent of a cat. It looks like Baser's going to take a nap. Let's move on, shall we? Okay, see you later, Baser. I waved goodbye and saw a tail poking out from between the branches, waved back and forth. I take it that is Baser's unique version of a farewell gesture. I got Lesson to clean me off again, then we set off in search of the next animal. In an area littered with large rocks, we came across an animal I couldn't determine if it was feline or canine. It had long, pointed ears and facial features resembling a cat, but its body was more similar to that of a fox or a dog. Its body was reddish-brown except for its stomach, which was gray. I knew an animal that looked a lot like this. Those long ears looked just like a caracals. What the heck is a caracal? Someone tell me? This is another relative of the rye panthers, a species called toe-tails. Among the various relatives of rye panthers, they had the most sensitive noses and the greatest jumping ability. They operate in small groups, and it's their job to exterminate the enemy's messengers and lookouts. Don't say it like they're pest exterminators or something. Yeesh. Do they ever make a mistake and accidentally eat one of their allies? I hadn't seen any messenger pigeons in this world, but there were messenger hawks, and I'd heard there were owls as well. I'd also heard of other small animals being trained to work as undercover operatives. I wondered if any of them ever got caught by accident. It's not a problem. We've trained them to recognize the scents of the animals from the beast stables. Huh? All of them? There must be over 1,000 animals here. They can differentiate all of them by smell? That's incredible, I exclaimed. Toe-tails are extremely curious and love learning. They see it as a game. One of the toe-tails sniffed the air, then approached Leston. Roar! Its cry was higher pitched than the rye panthers. In response to the toe-tail's cry, several roly-poly bodies came out from behind a large boulder. Looks like they found us, Leston said, seeming happy. I understand how you feel. That was because of the extremely cute creatures bounding toward us on wobbly little legs. Mew! The baby toe-tails coiled around us. Compared to the adult toe-tails, their coloring was lighter, and their fluffy baby fur was to die for. They were the ultimate fluff balls. I'm in heaven. The baby toe-tails had big shiny eyes and short stubby legs. Their ears folded downward, and they held their tails straight as a pin up in the air. They're so cute, I can hardly stand it. The baby toe-tails were mewling adorably in the way unique to babies, begging for a treat. Here you are, Lady Nefertima. Leston handed me what appeared to be tiny sphere-shaped crackers. They're treats for these guys. I suppose the perfect treat for a baby would be something like this, easy to chew and digest, and not too intensely flavored. Once the crackers appeared, the baby's cries became even higher pitched. I held the cracker up near the mouth of the first baby toe-tail. It grabbed my hand between its front paws and bit down on the cracker. It was so enthusiastic that it attempted to eat my fingers. But it mostly just sucked on them. Its tiny fangs did poke me, but it was so cute that I didn't care what it did to me. Go ahead, eat my whole arm while you're at it. One by one, I fed crackers to the pack of babies crowding around, each begging for their turn. The mother toe-tail approached, asking for a treat, but Leston gave her a piece of dry meat instead. I wanted to try giving her the dry meat. Once the babies were satisfied, it was time for their mother to groom them. The mother toe-tail meticulously licked all of the babies clean one by one. For some reason, I'm a little jealous. Lucky. Ew. I wouldn't want that. I want to smell like a baby cat. By this time, the baby toe-tails started to doze off, so their mother began carrying them back to the nest. She gestured with her eyes as if asking us to watch the remaining babies while she carried each one back. Don't worry, we'll be right here, Leston responded. The mother toe-tail grabbed the first baby by the scruff of its neck and carried it back up toward the boulder. We watched as she made 5 trips back and forth, and then she licked her hands as if saying thank you. We'll come play again soon, I told her. After we parted ways with the mother toe-tail, Leston suggested heading down toward the river next. There's even a river here? I thought the same about the dragon's tails, but this place is massive. Leston led me by the hand until at last we reached the river. Yep, it is a river. There are mysterious objects protruding from the water here and there, but it's still, all in all, it's an impressively wide river. What's that? I pointed to mysterious objects sticking out of the water near the riverbank. They looked like logs, but they were stacked up haphazardly. It's a turkey's nest. Leston stuck his fingers in his mouth and blew one shrill whistle. In response, a creature popped its head out of the mysterious object. It popped its head in and out of the holes in the stacked logs. Squeak! The way it tilted its head coquettishly to the side as it squeaked was so precious. The animal reminded me of a prairie dog, but overall it was more like a cat. Turkeys are semi-aquatic, building their nests on the riverbed and hiding in the water to hunt prey. Whoa, they're like cats that can swim. They normally live in family units, but this one has just reached maturity and set out on its own, so he doesn't have a family yet. They gather logs? That's right, there's an adhesive agent in their saliva that activates over time. They use it to stick logs together to build their homes. So, don't let them lick you. If their saliva has adhesive properties, don't they ever accidentally get it on themselves and get stuck? The turkey's job is helping with missions involving rivers and waterways that can dam up the river without the enemy ever noticing. Oh, they're more like beavers than prairie dogs after all. Beavers are a type of rodent, so they can use their teeth to gnaw on logs, but I don't think a turkey can do that. Come here, little guy, I called the turkey over so I could examine him more closely. The way he ran deftly over to me was just like a cat. I pet his head and found that perhaps because he was a semi-aquatic animal, his fur repelled water. His fur was glossy, which I guessed was due to oil secreted from its pores. I looked closely at the turkey's front legs and discovered his claws weren't retractable. Instead, their toes were webbed. His teeth were cat-like fangs, so he wasn't a rodent. His ears were small, and the tip of his tail was a little flatter than a normal feline. Overall, I decided that the animal from my world he most resembled was a weasel. Why is he making a house, I asked. Why? Did you tell him to build it here? Oh. Yes, I suppose that's right. We teach them to build a nest where we've laid out the materials. In nature, they only build dams during droughts, so that water will collect and the smaller creatures that turkeys prey on will naturally gather in the area. I see. During droughts and the dry season, animals will gather where there's water, although I imagine that also includes larger animals dangerous to the turkeys. Won't it be dangerous if predators are drawn to the area? It's okay, the wood they use to dam up the river also functions as a fortress for the turkeys. At this, I turned to look at the turkey's nest again. The edges of some of the logs are sharp and pointed. The sharpened logs aren't evenly spaced, but they cover the entire structure more or less. This is how they fend off attacks. How clever. I hope you can find a wife quickly, Leston said. Squeak! Leston seemed concerned that although this turkey was already an adult, it hadn't started a family yet. It's okay. For now, he needs to focus on building a really impressive house. He'll find a wife later. Squeak! My pronunciation wasn't great, but the turkey seemed encouraged by my words. Does he really understand? Build a great house, okay? That might work. I'll get Rick to work with him on his building skills. Huh? What's the rush? I'm sure that one of the female turkeys will be attracted to him if he becomes a skilled nest builder. Does he mean the females choose their mates based on their nest building skills? Is nest building a form of courtship or something? Thank you, Lady Nefertima. You're welcome. I wasn't sure why he was thanking me, but I decided just to accept it. However, I was concerned about what kind of special training they would undertake to teach the turkey to build better. It wasn't anything that would hurt him, was it? Squeak! The panicked turkey turned and hurried back to his nest. I wonder what that was all about. Several birds that had been resting on the riverbank all leaped into the air at the same time and flew off. What's happening? It would appear that your escort has arrived, Lady Nefertima. I spotted a familiar shadow in the direction Leston had pointed. Lars! Once Lars landed on the ground, I flung myself at him. His fur was smooth and impressively fluffy, and he smelled like sunshine. Just touching him brought me intense joy. Does Will want to see me? That jerk Will. Doesn't he know better than to interfere with my time in fluffy paradise? You can come here again anytime, so please see what His Highness wants, Leston said. Ugh, if even Leston agrees, I guess I have no choice. I'll make you pay for this, Will. I climbed up on Lars's back, and we set off walking back to the interior of the royal palace. Lars still wouldn't fly with me on his back, so we were stuck taking the land route. There was no barrier that could stand in the way of a holy beast such as Lars. He used the wind to open doors, and any servants that saw him got out of his way. Mounted on his back, I drew a lot of attention. I heard more than a few people whispered in hushed voices, the youngest daughter of the Oz family, and the fire dragon's chosen. Who was that? I heard you calling me His Majesty's plaything. Will is my toy, not the other way around. Huh? Something wrong with that logic? Well, who cares? I'd assumed we were heading to Will's room, but when we finally arrived, it was in a different room I'd never been in before. Whose room is this? Let's try and finish. Lars nonchalantly blew open the door, revealing a group of sparkling people within. Welcome, Nefertima. Please come in, Nima. It was the king and queen. Will was there as well. For some reason, the queen picked me up and carried me to the table. Let us have some tea. We just received some sweets from the Linus Empire. I called you here to eat them with us. Really? Is that it? I doubt it. An arrangement of small, beautifully decorated sweets was set out on the table. I was always down for sweets, but this situation struck me as odd. What business did I have casually taking tea with the king, queen, and crown prince? How do you do? I had no idea what to say, and blurted out the first semi-polite phrase that came to mind. What was I thinking? It was rude to say without a preamble to someone as exalted as the queen. Should I backtrack and start over with the proper greeting? I wish Mama were here to tell me how to behave. I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you today, Nima? I'm good. The queen had responded without taking insult, but I could see Will's shoulders shaking. I'm guessing that was him laughing. There were no two ways about it. He was laughing at me. We're the only ones here, so you don't need to feel nervous. This issue precedes nervousness. One can't just throw manners to the wind, even among friends. Proper greetings are important, I insisted. I'll have to get you to remind Dale of that, His Majesty laughed. What is Papa saying to the king every day? You don't need to stand on ceremony with Mother and Father, Will said. Come now, which would you like to eat? Right, you can have whichever one you like. Will's being nice? But I don't see any pigs flying by outside the window. Oh, that must mean he's up to something. But I do want to eat the sweets. And yet, Will's smile is truly terrifying. Oh, I can get through this by using the queen as my ally. Queen Relina, I'd like that yellow one, please. This one? Okay, here you go. Say, ah. I opened my mouth wide and the queen fed me a bite. It's incredible. Yummy. A sweet flavor of a fruit called a pesh, which was similar to a peach, spread through my mouth. The texture was crisp and it melted on my tongue. It reminded me of a macaron, but it was actually a type of meringue. Girls are so cute, Queen Relina gushed. If only Will were a little cuter. My apologies, Mother. Queenie, if this stereotypical hottie started acting cutesy, it would be a little disturbing. Will's good like this, I opined. Wait. Oh, my Queen Relina cried with delight. You must love Will very much. Isn't that right, Nima? Wait, what? Love Will? I suppose if I had to choose between love and hate, I'm on the love end of the spectrum, but I'm pretty sure it's not the kind of love the queen has in mind. Will's like another brother to me. Being able to play dumb like this is an evasion tactic that only works when you're young. Oh no, are they trying to set this up as an arranged marriage down the line when she gets older? Oh no, I think this is what we're getting at here. Unless they're joking. So she still sees him as a brother, huh? You've got your work cut out for you, Will, His Majesty said. What are you saying? Oh, God. Yeah. Will actually agrees with her on this. Thank goodness. At least he's not on board with it, too. That'd be pretty freaky weird. What are you saying, Will sighed? If you're concocting some kind of weird scheme, Duke Osp will kick your butt. I'm not scared of him, the king retorted. Papa, the royal family has figured out what a sappy father you are. More importantly, now I'm totally curious what you're saying to the king every day. The tea party continued like this until the carriage arrived to take me home. Frankly, I was exhausted. I just soothed my soul by petting all those pretty kitties, and now I'd recouped a mountain of mental strain. I think I'll visit Giesel and the others tomorrow. In the meantime, Lars, please let me cuddle and pet you to relieve some of the stress. Huh. Okay, so it looks like we're at the end of the book. Okay. And I hope you guys are excited for the next book, and I'll see you all in the next one.